you ever heard about the true owners of the Caucasian Albanian church? I know that not many people have heard about the ancient land of Albania, where the first church in the Caucasus was established. The founders of these early churches in the Caucasus were the ancient tribes called the Albans, who were the aboriginals of Azerbaijan, the land of ancient Turks. The earliest record of Turkic tribes living in Azerbaijan goes back to the 4th and 3rd millenniums. The ancient Sumerian Akkad, Assyrian, Egyptian, and Babylonian sources record the names of the early Turkic tribes, such as Kuts, Su, Turuki, and Lullavi. The ancient Azerbaijani states of Mana, Caucasian, Albania, and Atropatena were direct descendants of these early Turkic tribes in Azerbaijan. In this video, we will talk about ancient Caucasian Albania, whose population Strabo described as tall and handsome, and Roman author Julius Solon, who lived in the 3rd century, described as blonde. The historic materials by early Latin and Greek sources indicate that the Alban, Albania, Agvan, Agvank, and Aran states were established by Turkic-speaking tribes such as the Kimers and Kamar, Sakas, Iskits, Mashagets, Maskat, Maskut, and Kaspis, Az. These names were interconnected and inseparable from each other. The Assyrians called the Sakas Akuzai or Ishkuzah, the Jews were called Ashkenazi in the Torah, and the Greeks called Scythians. Iranians were called the Sakis, and the Indians called Sakya. The Saks in Caucasus Albania included tribes such as the Alban, Sakasen, Kogar, Tauk, Vazian, Paktur, and Kanduk. In the 4th century BC, these tribes were united under the common name of Alban. The Caucasian Albanian state where altogether 26 tribes lived, started from the Irask or Araz River and ended at Zanakert, a city located at the Kram River, which flows into the Kur River, and included Oryx, Tena, or Asaks, Uti, Tena, and Sodi rivers as well. In ancient times, the Caspian Sea was also called the Albanian Sea. Two interpretations exist regarding the meaning of the word Alban. One refers to the origin of the word, which comes from the ancient Latin word albus, meaning whiteness and light, and the second meaning refers to the ancient Turkic word alb, or alp, meaning courage and heroism. Ancient Greeks also used the word Albion, which meant courage and hero. Uyghur Turks still use this word to mean height, and ancient Latins called the Alp mountains Alpa. According to Suleimanov, Kazakh poet, Turkologist, politician, and Soviet anti-nuclear activist, the Chinese word Alban refers to Azerbaijan. Among the Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, and Turkmen, there are tribes with Albanian names. In ancient Armenian, the term Alban was pronounced as Agvan, which Seljuks in the 9th century used to describe the territory located in the north of the Kur River. The Caucasian Albanians worshiped the goddess of the moon and sun. Strabo noted that the belief in the goddess of the moon had deeper roots and was similar to the faith of Moon Tengri of the ancient Turks. Zoroastrianism was not the popular religion in Albania except in Mugan and South Azerbaijan. In the 1st and 2nd centuries, Judaism and later on Christianity started spreading to the Caucasus with the mission of the Holy Elysee or St. Elsh in 54 and 57 years. The first Christian church established in Caucasian Albania was the Church Kish, approximately 5 kilometers north of Nuga or Shaki. The church is located on an ancient cultic site which dates back to about 3000 BC. Christianity has had a great influence in the Caucasus and Albania. The apostles Bartholomew and Fadi were also active in spreading Christianity in Albania. In fact, in 313 AD, the ruler of Albania, Irenir, declared Christianity the state religion of the country. From this period, Christians tried to spread Christianity in these areas by building churches and monasteries, and these churches and monasteries can be found all over the Caucasus, in present-day Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia. The Caspian Turks who migrated from the North Caucasus to Albania also settled in these areas, converting to Judaism. It should be noted that Saint Gregory, considered the founder of the Armenian Church, was in fact a person of Christian Turkish origin. Therefore, on the religious and philosophical basis of Gregorianism, it is possible to observe the everyday elements of the Turkic peoples. For these and other reasons, both Catholics and Orthodox Christians did not accept the Armenian Gregorian Church. However, Udins, one of the 26 Alban tribes, belonged to the Gregorian Christian Church. The Albanian Church was the Apostolical Church, and its heads were called the Catholicos. The center of the church was in Garbala in the 4th century and later on in Barda in the 5th century. This process continued until the Arabs occupied Albania. When Arabs conquered Azerbaijan, the majority of the Turkic population converted into Islam, except the minority population of the Turk Arsak dynasty in Karabakh, which remained Christian. Today, of the 26 tribes living in Albania, only 6 have survived. These people are the Kyrgyz, Kaliniks, Jaks, Kaputlans, Botiks, and Udins. The first 5 tribes are Muslim, and the Udins are Christians. The Caucasian Albanians were persecuted by Arab Muslims who considered them allies of the Byzantine Empire, and they always supported the Armenian Church against the Albanian Church. This was the earliest record of the destruction of the Albanian Church's literature by Arabs and the Armenian Gregorian Church. Later on, Seljuk and Ottoman Turks conquered Anatolia after the victory of Malazgirt. After that, they took the Armenians under their protection, and thus the Armenian Gregorian Church was able to continue its existence. When Fatih Sultan Mehmet conquered Istanbul, he established the Armenian Patriarchate in Istanbul in 1461 because the Armenian Gregorian Church supported the Ottoman Turks against their ancient enemy, the Orthodox Byzantium Church. From the middle of the 13th century, the center of the Albanian Church became the Ganzar Temple. From that time on, the Catholicos were usually chosen among the descendants of Hasan Jalal. The famous members of the church were Miktar Kush, Karakos from Ganja, Yesayi Hasan Jalal called them Alban, Tuglu, Dizaki, and Mokatar. The religious beliefs of the Armenians, who present themselves as the real, ancient, and original owner of the Christian Church in the Caucasus, do not have a historical basis in the light of true historical facts. Even worse, the Armenian Church claims ownership over the Albanian churches. No one asked, how is it possible that the Armenian historians were able to deceive the whole world by privatizing current Gregorianism, which was established by Kipchak Turk Saint Gregory in Albania? Also, those who fall victim to the false Armenian propaganda should ask for the sake of truth. How come the architecture of the Albanian church buildings in Karabakh, in Yerevan, and many more places are not similar to the Armenian Gregorian Church? Have you seen how beautiful and elegant are the Albanian churches that draw attention with its unique pre-Christian Albanian heritage mingled with Christianity? This is because the two churches belong to different denominations. The Albanian church was Diophysite church, suggesting Caucasian Albanians believed in a complete and perfect unity of the two natures in one hypostasis and one person of Jesus Christ. This was totally contrasted with the Armenian monophysitic church. In addition, the Albanian cross stones scattered across the occupied territories of Kalbaja, Karabakh, and on the border of South Azerbaijan and Yerevan, and even included pre-Christian elements and the religious rites of Turkic tribes in Azerbaijan. Note that the Albanian cross is the only cross in the world that included pagan symbols and Albanian writings. Second, have you ever wondered why the mother tongue of Caucasian Christian Albanians, including the Christian population of Artsakh Karabakh, is? They did not call themselves Hayes or spoke their language. These Albanians spoke the native language Kipchak until the end of the 19th century. For example, take into account this important fact. Have you ever asked why did Sayat Nova, the most influential representative of Albanian Turkish literature in the 18th and 19th century, wrote his poems in the Turkish language and called himself Turk Sayat Nova? Second, it is worth to ask why the modern Armenians call themselves descendants of Indo-European ethnos, Hayes and their country, Hayats Ashkar, Hayats Yurkur, Hayastan, and Hayastan Ashkar. This is because the name Armenia in itself was stolen from the original owners. You might ask, how come? Well, here's the answer. The name of Armenia itself is a Turkish word meaning the courageous men. Armenia was a geographical location in the headwaters of the Euphrates where Subar, Army-Matan, Hurry-Matan tribes lived since the 3rd till the 1st millennium BC, and later on, these lands belonged to Urartu in the centuries BC of 10 and 13. And in the 7th century, BC, Saka Cimarron or Saga Gamur tribes settled in Armenia. Later on, these tribes were replaced by the Turk-speaking Karamans, otherwise known as Kipchak, who were not part of the Albanian state and were dominant of the population of the territory of today's Armenia. It is no wonder that today one branch of the Karaman tribe is called Armanak and Irmi. It is a tribal division of the Western Bulgarian Turks. According to Arab historians, Tabari, during his era, Azerbaijani lands were divided into two parts, Iran and Armenia. Both geographical areas were inhabited by Turks. Iran covered the territory of present-day Kur-Araz, while Armenia covered the territory of present-day Western Azerbaijan and Borchali. The ancient Kipchaks lived in Armenia, who are the ancestor of the original Christian population of Artsakh, Karabakh, and Armenia. The Christian Kuraman Arman Turks, oppressed by the Arab Caliphate and the Seljuks, were forced to migrate to the north of Caucasus and Crimea. Even today, their descendants are living in and other areas in the region, including Thrace, Greece, Georgia, Stavropol, Krasnodar, and in the North Caucasus. This has been a sizable Turkish-speaking community and is also known as Greek because they have been assimilated by Greeks. As we see, the Hayes adopted the name Armenian to increase their chance to claim over the historical and cultural heritage of the Christian Armen Turks. Because the Armenian cathedrals have never existed in the Caucasus, they have existed in the eastern banks of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers around Lake Van outside the East Caucasus. Their members had baptisms in the Euphrates River. So, these Hayes stole the Albanian heritage and also the names of early Turkic tribes in the Caucasus. One of the earliest records dates back to the census of the population living in Istanbul during the reign of Fatih Sultan Mehmet, reflecting the attempt of Hayes to take the name Arman. In Ottoman or Osmanli Empire, some Armenians had also been named as Gregorian Turks, referring to their Turkic origin in contrast to the Hayes. In this book, Procopius of Caesarea, published in 1858, historian M. Koronazzi considered the Arshaks to be the sons of Kantura, Procopius of Caesarea, and stated, "Let no one think that the Arskids are of Armenian descent." It is an appropriate answer to those who want to associate the name Arsag or Artsakh with Hay, but it does not allow us to say the opposite. These Artsaks were the descendants of Turkic-speaking tribes in Bolkar, Chuvash, and Kipchak. Despite the persecutions by the Arab and Seljuk Turks who supported the Armenian Gregorian Church, the Caucasian Albanian Autocephalous Church was able to protect its independence until 1836, when it was abolished by the decree of Tsar Nicholas I. This decree allowed the Armenian Church to take over the Albanian Church, where its members were classified as Armenians. Some members of the church were forced to assimilate within the Gregorian Orthodox Church. Since the settlement of the Ottoman and Iranian Armenians in ancient Azerbaijani lands in the 19th century, the historical monuments, along with Albanian churches, continue to be the subject of cultural genocide through falsification of Albanian and Azerbaijani history. All the Albanian churches, crossstones, and literature were destroyed by the Armenian Gregorian Church. Such cultural genocide has always been the part of the physical destruction of Azerbaijanis in Yerevan and Karabakh by Armenian nationalists.